All right, so ladies and gentlemen, you know, we have a lot of things to go over. I ask you that you like the video. And guys, wanna donate and donate to the platform and make your haters them mad. The people where I say me a beg, donate to the platform, support the platform if you don't love the content and the substance that the platform is. And I'm not even saying this for my own platform, and I've been on record saying this for all the good platforms them out there. Support the platforms. Put your money where your mouth is. You understand? Hitting the like button, we love it. Sharing it, the live with 20 people, we love it. We appreciate it. Also, there's donation options. Thank you for the few people that donate. And donation doesn't always mean that you give money. Sometimes the Lord lead people to do other things. Like, you know what? There's this equipment that I think, you know, he might need, and the Lord led me to buy it for him or her, whichever platform it is. You get me? Cause them vex, so we are advertising. I'm gonna advertise my donation link more. The Cash App is there, the PayPal is there, and the Zelle is there. So if you want to support the platform, you can use those avenues to do so monetarily. And I encourage that you support the platform and make the haters mad. What make them vex? True people that support good platforms. Support the platform them. What do you mean? Why the hell not? Let's continue. Otada. Face to no blur not and done. So who them man? Like we hear Prime Minister Jamaica officer, well the next Prime Minister.
The following is a release from the People's National Party Media Unit.
The PNP
website at pnp.org.jm or check us out on Facebook at Jamaica PNP.
You hear that? Alright.
Unit.
I would like to welcome the Prime Minister. Storage facilities in heavy production belt, irrigation systems not only in agri-parks but in other heavy production areas. The next PNP administration will ensure that more sustainable measures such as utilizing ponds with pond liners, micro dams and rainwater harvesting systems are adopted, as well as investing in technology, research and development and training. The PNP is also committed to end the practice of using arable lands for any other purpose than agriculture. The opposition remains committed to building a Jamaica where local agriculture is a true engine of national development, not just an afterthought.
And visit our website at pnp.org.jm or check us out on Facebook at Jamaica PNP.
So there you have it, Dr. Dayton Campbell. You understand? Talking on agriculture. Zine, and you know housing. Now, the teachers them, you know. Teachers them. Try you see Damian Crawford, you know, say time for the teachers them. Big press conference key, but we are going on.
Thank you very much, and good morning. Thank you for joining us today on this important conversation around education and the JTC bill, the Jamaica Teaching Council. What I'd like to start off with is setting the context of the conversation, because we have seen great misinformation in the public and a lack of understanding in the conversation as it relates to why teachers may have a concern and what is the aim of the JTC bill and the aim of the People's National Party as far as education is concerned. We're not against regulation of any kind. What we're against is how the approach has been taken, seeking almost to put at the feet of our teachers the realities of the negatives that we're faced with the outcomes of education. Indeed, in the last report for our CXCs, only 18% of the students who sat the examination would have come out with the 5 subjects including math and English. That is equivalent to a GED in the United States. There would have been no society, no citizen within the United States that would have accepted an 18% GED success rate going forward from the students. The World Bank has indicated that in spite of 17 years of spending, both from government, private sector and parents, on education, effective learning is about 11.7 years of effective learning. However, many have tried to place those negatives at the feet of our teachers while ignoring the realities of our education and national systems. One of the greatest realities, or one of the greatest contributors to student underperformance, remains unattended to, and that is that of absenteeism. Recently, the government reported a return to pre-COVID levels of absenteeism of 22% absenteeism. The literature suggests that 10% absenteeism is termed chronic absenteeism. At 20% absenteeism, a student is likely to perform an exam as if he didn't attend school. The Jamaica Society celebrated through the Ministry of Education a return to 22% absenteeism, pre-COVID levels. And that is not the worst case, because there are rural areas of 32%, 34% absenteeism, and deep rural areas that have reported as high as 50% absenteeism. No matter the quality of the teacher, such levels of absenteeism would cause for underperformance in education. Additionally, 54% of Jamaican citizens have been reported to have a difficulty in finding food. That was a report by an international agency that 54% has a difficulty in finding food, whether it is a grave difficulty or a slight difficulty. This has affected many of our children who, while attending school, is incapable to have nutritious meals. We have treated this as a binary impact by causing for meals to be given to those who are on path and have no consideration to those who are on the fringe of path or otherwise. Many of our students facing this kind of food discrimination are incapable of learning in an effective way, and not the teacher's capacity to teach. We also have a difficulty in getting the tools for learning. Even today, while we're about 2 weeks from the CXC examinations, there are still schools that have not received their full allotment of rental books that they requested from the government. There are schools that have requested 38 maths books and have received 7 of those 38 maths books that they have requested. There are others that have made requisitions for multiple subject books that they have not received even to this point. And by extension, that too has contributed. Available parent and interested parent has been proven as one of the number one reasons for underperformance. The Jamaican single parent reality is 47%. The global average is 17%. So the vast majority, almost 50% of Jamaican children, are facing the circumstances of a single parent experience, including the lack of an adult at home for many hours of the day, including limited resources, so to fund the school, nutrition, and other realities, and including the lack of discipline due to the lack of adult intervention on multiple occasions. These are only some of the things that have been ignored in totality, so much so that we believe that a teacher's council is likely to be a panacea for our education system. I put it to you that even to today's date, there has not been a tabling and a debate of the transformation report, for Parliament to have a debate around that transformation report. And in spite of having hired the University of the West Indies Mona Business School to lead the charge as it relates to the research, the recommendation of $21 billion each year for transformation have never been met in the last 3 years. In fact, the suggested budget for transformation this year is about 15 billion less than the recommendation for transformation. It is therefore important for us to recognize that the value of our teachers have consistently been proven by the recruitment from overseas persons. Every year, 4 to 5 of the greatest countries in the world continue to recruit our teachers, even as far as Dubai. We're losing over 1,200 teachers per year because of that capacity, that competence, and that capability. Therefore, the People's National Party believes that the JTC bill should treat our teachers with trust, with understanding, and with support, as versus with the punitive nature that may cause for an increase in migration and for the more negatives than positives as far as it goes. We have carried before you a reality that teachers are at the center of the People's National Party, in its history, in its present, and in its future. And these teachers will be indicating to you some of the concerns that we have and some of the suggestions, not for a regulation, but for a supportive regulation that understands teachers must be trusted. Thank you, and we look forward to having this conversation.
So the main point where I make is that the bill where them have, the competency thing, I put the teacher them as a disadvantage. So I say, and well, if they never competent, so much other countries around the world don't want them, we won't have this big brain drain. So they need to fix that. No, tell me what you think about that. See? Next speaker.
I am an owner and an operator of a private institution. And first and foremost, I remembered last year when the minister then, in October, make mention that the Jamaica Independent School Association have been left out of the discussions surrounding education transformation. Independent schools are literally on their own. They provide a very big percentage of training, teaching, and learning in this country. Yet, sometimes not even a curriculum can be given to these independent schools. I would like to find out where in this bill that shows that there's any form of consultation done with these independent schools. I have a big concern in terms of education because we are really preparing teachers and we are not preparing the students as well. There is no form of transformation to deal with the kind of schools that we are having teaching and learning into. We do not have any form of transformation in terms of the syllabus in which we use now in this 21st century to teach our children. I believe this bill is very hasty. I think we need to go back, and I believe the lower house will be able to debate, and I'm waiting on that occasion. I would like to find out where in this bill that speaks to homeschooling. I know that education is wider than just training teachers and registering teachers. And while I was coming here this morning, a teacher said to me, it makes no sense we stay in the classroom because every day something else comes to put more burden on us. We should be encouraging our educators, especially in a period where they are being offered more attractive salaries, more better and suitable accommodations. And therefore, I stand ready to debate this bill in the lower house. Thank you.
Solid argument. Solid argument. Can't go around that, people. Solid argument that. What about homeschooling? How that I go work out? How those persons are gonna get the competency certification? The way how them are go about it. They need for they need for what she said, they definitely need to slow down. They going too fast. Yep, going way too fast. Lord of mercy.
Good afternoon, Jamaica. I am Ramoni Lewis, the MP candidate for Senate.
Big up, Ramon.
Teacher, I have some concerns as it relates to the risk that teachers will face related to the bureaucratic registration process and the licensing process that the JTC bill is putting forward. First of all, section 35 and 36 that looks at the double approval process. This will increase career risk. I mean, section 35 requires the teachers to apply for registration, and then section 36 requires a teacher to apply for a separate license for teaching. I mean, when I got my teaching license in 2005, I haven't renewed it, and I'm in the university. So we have to begin to understand that if we plan to put our teachers through a lot of processes, then this might deter them from really participating in the process. Section 44, the mandatory license expiry period, this is too short. Currently it's 5 years. We have some recommendations where that is concerned. Section 45, the unrealistic renewal window. Oh, come on, 6 months minimum. 3 months is here, but we need 6 months minimum. We have some recommendations where that is concerned as well. Section 46, the repeated police record requirement for our teachers. Our teachers, repeated police record. Come on, we have some recommendations where that is concerned as well. I mean, I don't think the act caters to the needs of our teachers both in the short term and the long term. It does not provide for medical emergencies. It does not provide for maternal or paternity leave. And if there's a family crisis, what will our teachers do? Rural access limitations also. Come on, we have to do better. We understand the situation and we are up for a good bill, but we recommend the following. One, we want to extend the licensing period from the current 5 years to 10 years. 2, we want the JTC to be funded by government subventions and not teachers' licensing or renewal fees. Police records, once, and only if you have reasonable doubt or suspicion that a teacher has participated in some other activity, then you ask for another police record. We want to introduce a 6-month grace period for license renewal instead of the 3 months, and also we want to merge registration and licensing into a single process to reduce duplication and also reduce delay. Come on, the teachers are the foundation of a modern Jamaica. And without them, the country cannot grow and advance to where it ought to be. Let us try our best to focus on modernizing the teaching experience. Let us try to focus on giving the teachers the tools they need in order for them to provide the foundation that the country requires to move forward. My other colleagues are here. You'll hear more from us as
People, you really hear them something here? Where the government are come with? Me backside. No, sir. No, when I've really stand up a comment section on that one there. May I go through everybody's speech?
Dan?
No,
I'm
brother.
also a former primary school teacher. I've taught in rural as well as in urban areas. And I don't know if under this bill I would be considered a teacher for what I did at tertiary level, but I've also dabbled there as well. And in addition to that, I have worked in multiple countries supporting education reforms, not too dissimilar from what we are discussing here, teaching councils. And the basic thing about teaching councils is that they're supposed to be developmental. You're supposed to get excited about them as a teacher. So if you are a teacher, last year 1,100 or thereabouts left the Jamaican education system, sought and better remunerated by systems elsewhere, as was mentioned earlier on. And if you were thinking of doing that now, and you heard about the JTC bill, ideally, you would pause and say, let me see how this plays out. And from what you've heard and from what we know from this bill, you would not delay your departure. And I'm going to speak to 5
Embarrassing.
He needs some milk. Heard and from what we know from this bill, you would not delay your departure. And I'm going to speak to 5 areas in which we think the bill does a disservice to teachers and could contribute to teacher migration increasing rather than the developmental work that the council is supposed to support. The first one has to do with the increased bureaucracy, which we think will discourage the retention of teachers. So, as you've heard, under sections 35, 36, and 43 to 46, teachers must go through a 2-stage process to get registered and then to get licensed. And they have to do this every 5 years, right? And they have to submit their police records. They have to do this required CPD, which they must document, and they must reapply for their license, even if they have a perfect record. So the implications of this is that you, as a teacher, overburdened by everything else that's going on, from lesson planning to indiscipline to all the mental health issues that they have to address, must now manage this cycle of paperwork, which you must ensure is properly coordinated and you keep good records. So we think this does a disservice to teachers and will encourage more teachers to leave the profession. The second one has to do with mandatory continuous professional development, CPD. And teachers are required under this bill to do CPD as a condition of their license. But there is no legal guarantee, no provisions in the bill that this CPD, this professional development, will be free, will be easily accessible, or fairly delivered. And so it means that teachers will have to pay out of pocket to meet these requirements, while earning salaries that lag behind what they would have earned if they decide to migrate. So the question then is, why would a teacher stay here and pay this additional amount when they can go elsewhere, be paid more, and probably more importantly, not have to jump through the hoops that this bill is asking them to jump through? And so this is a real concern which we think needs to be addressed.
Help, we key out of the ladder.
We need your divine intervention. We're tired of the labor rights. We're tired of the green people. We are so far. We can't take it no more. We need this. We need this. We need it. Help. Help. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength. Is a liberator.
The third one has to do with fear of punishment, and instability. So under this bill, teachers face public disciplinary hearings, suspension without pay during investigations, fines up to $1 million for infractions like teaching without a valid license.
What did you say? Hey, bro, come on now, dog.
$1 million?
Come on, man.
What?
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What can go so?
$1 million?
Help, help, help. We key out of the ladder.
We need your divine intervention. Ball out! Whoa, yo.
No, man.
We need help, Jesus. Jamaica need help.
Call it.
Shift the parliament.
Call it.
No salary protection during the appeal process.
No, from COVID, then charge you much money for this and that. The government a come for rob poor people, you know. The Andrew honestly JLP government a come for strip poor people, you know. Come like man they want to destabilize the whole country. So now this is a runway teacher them. Right? Even more. Is that their plan? You know, sometimes I just like to make it play. I mean, I like talk sometimes because I ask some very, very critical questions. You know? Because the action of these guys, it is worrisome.
And investigations that can be launched anonymously or on verified complaints. So the risk then is that you'll be punished, you are uncertain about where you are in your profession. So this is not a supportive system, which is what we intend is what a country intends when it implements a teaching council. It is supposed to be developmental, but this seems hostile and punitive. The message seems to be, Big Brother is watching, you are under constant threat, or your job anyway is under constant threat. The fourth risk to teachers has to do with career flexibility. Because as you've heard, the licenses are specific only for certain subjects or to teach certain age groups. And so a teacher qualified to teach multiple subjects in Jamaica may be locked into a single role, while if they were overseas, they'd be free to use all of their skills to practice in multiple areas. And that's not only inefficient, it's demotivating, because as we know, our teachers want to be as flexible, they want to experiment, they want to teach in as many areas as possible. So the fifth and final risk, which I wish to speak to, is that of the cost of compliance, which we think is too high. The costs for fees, for CPD costs, the police records renewals, with these things, teachers may spend tens of thousands of dollars during the license cycle in order to comply. And we know that not only aren't they asked to pay these things by the recruiters are offering free onboarding, free airfare, free housing assistance, free tuition for your children, and better salaries. And so we must seriously ask ourselves, how do these provisions make it attractive for our teachers to remain in Jamaica? And so as a party, the Teachers Party, we wish to make a couple of recommendations.
Make them know, my general.
The first one has to do with ensuring that we have a package, a retention package, which teachers would find attractive. We think that package should include bonus pay, housing incentives, and tax breaks for long-term service. Secondly, all required CPD for public teachers in the public system should be free and easily accessible, coordinated by the government.
Oh, yeah.
Third, we think it's necessary to streamline the licensing into a single one-off certification with renewal required only if there are serious breaches on the part of the teacher. Our fourth recommendation speaks to eliminating the subject-specific license restrictions, especially for primary schools and for the small schools. Imagine a school with multi-grade teaching. And the fifth and final is to protect teachers from unjust penalties. No anonymous investigation, no loss of pay during appeal, and certainly no over-regulation. So with these things, we think a teacher would pause if they were thinking of migrating. They would find the JTC developmental, and it would cause them to think twice about leaving for other jurisdictions. Thank you.
Yeah, we know that makes sense to the people.
Invite Senator Crawford.
Bill. Section 35 2B. fit and proper standard is undefined. Section 35(2)(b), the JTC bill states that the application for registration must be fit and proper. The term fit and proper is not defined anywhere in the bill. There is no objective, list of criteria, no guiding standard, and no measurable tests to assess this requirement. The Jamaica Teaching Council, this gives the Jamaican Teaching Council unchecked discretion. A teacher could be rejected or deregistered based on vague or personal interpretation of what fit and proper means. It creates a lack of transparency and consistency, opening the door to potential bias or discrimination. Competent to teach is a broad subject, broad and subjective. Under Section 36(3)(b), the council may refuse to issue a license if the applicant is not considered competent to teach. The bill does not define what competence includes or excludes. It gives no clear indication of whether competence refers to subject knowledge, pedagogical skills, training, or background assessment outcomes. Teachers can be denied a license or face disciplinary actions without knowing what standard they are being held to. The lack of clarity increases uncertainty for teachers entering or remaining in the profession. Discretion without safeguards undermines due process. What terms like fit and proper or competent to teach are left undefined, they became legal tools for exclusion rather than standards of quality. The absence of clear definition means teachers can be denied registration or licensing without a fair chance to understand or challenge the basis of the decision. Due process is weakening, and trust in the fairness of the system is eroded. Bias, politics, and personal conflicts become legal grounds implications. Without clear limits, these vague terms can be used to exclude otherwise qualified individuals, target teachers with alternative training paths, or be influenced by subjective, non-academic factors. This opens the system to politicize, misuse, and professional injustice. PNP recommendations. Define fit and proper in legislation, using transparent and objective criteria. No serious convictions, including minor frauds or violence. Good standing with previous employers. No active disciplinary findings without resolution. Define competent to teach based on recognized qualifications. Completion of teaching practicums or certification process. Ongoing performance reviewed mechanism. Require the council to issue written reasons when registration or licensing is defined on these grounds. Establish an independent appeal process to review decisions made using subjective or vague criteria. Safeguard fair access by ensuring the use of alternative certification routes to access by merit and performance, not form or affiliation.
What do you think about the recommendation there? Because you gonna say somebody no fit, and then you left what is fit to be interpreted. That means whoever is the judge, them can just move the goalpost, no? So, valid arguments again.
And though it might be a surprise to many, I've taught at all three levels of the education sector: primary, secondary, and council bill we are discussing may prioritize the primary and secondary teachers. It has implications for the sector on a whole, and therefore, as a lecturer at the tertiary level, it is incumbent on me to support this initiative and to lend my voice to the advocacy. Now, the Jamaica Teaching Council bill is framed as a professional regulation. Regulations must embed at their center the principles of fairness, justice, and transparency. The sections I will cite will confirm that the basic concept of natural justice has not been adhered to with this bill. For example, there's no legal support for accused teachers. At sections 50 to 64, the disciplinary process, there's no provision either for legal aid. The bill outlines investigations, hearings, and penalties. Nowhere does it provide legal support or state-sponsored representation for teachers under review. Teachers facing suspension, revocation of their license, or public sanctions must defend themselves at their own expense. What are the implications? A teacher under investigation, even on a false or minor complaint, must choose between paying legal fees or going unrepresented. This disproportionately harms the teacher's reputation. With limited income or access to legal support, that situation is further exacerbated. Then there's the issue of not having the right to face one's accuser. At section 50, subsection 1A, complaints can be made by any person, and the bill does not require disclosure of the complainant's identity in the initial stages. That also suggests that a teacher could be under investigation for some time before being notified. So even those who are able to afford and access legal support will be at an immediate disadvantage, as the state of investigation, persons interviewed, and other related steps in a process that is so clothed in darkness could negatively prejudice the teacher. There is no language in the bill that guarantees that the teacher will be informed of who made the complaint or when the complaint is made, or allowed to respond before investigation begins. What are the implications? This undermines natural justice. Teachers may be investigated without their knowledge, without knowing the source or the nature of the allegation, or without knowing who is making the allegation. Then there's the issue of the risk of double jeopardy. At section 6(1) A to D, the council may take action against a teacher regardless of the outcomes in other fora. A teacher therefore may be cleared by a court or a school board, but still face the risk of their license being revoked or suspended from the JTC for the exact same issue. The implication of this is that a teacher may face multiple consequences for the same event, even when they have been cleared of the initial accusation. At section 64(3) and section 59, subsection 2, as well as section 61, subsection 4, it makes it clear that the teacher is denied a salary during the appeal process. The bill allows the council to suspend or revoke a teacher's license, and while appeals are being allowed, the decision of the suspension or revocation still stands. Therefore, access to earning has been interrupted. There's no provision for salary continuation during that period, and no clear statement of salaries being restored retroactively with the relevant interest applied after the process has been completed. A teacher may therefore be unable to work or earn while appealing a decision that may later be overturned. This discourages appeals and leads to financial distress, even for innocent teachers. And as my colleagues shared previously, this could negatively impact a teacher's ability beyond this investigation, even if the investigation proves that the teacher was innocent, to continue to enjoy that basic human right of professional reputation. Then there's a matter of the ease with which investigations can be launched. At the relevant section, 50, subsection 1, a complaint from any person, which is the language of the bill, any person, is enough to trigger an investigation. There is no requirement for an initial screening, no test of the veracity of the complaints, and no accountability for false or vexatious complaints. So a teacher remains professionally injured, even if, I guess, at the end, the complainant say, finger mash no ball, member play with the play. The problem is the education of our children, and the professional reputation of our teachers is not a game down a manual road. Then there are the excessive penalties. At section 59, suspension is discussed. Revocation at section 61, and offenses and penalties at section 71. The penalties include suspension or revocation of license, public disclosure of disciplinary outcomes, and fines up to $1.5 million. We find that this is onerous. There are criminal acts across this country's legal system for which public disclosure is not required, nor never actually happens, and therefore it would be an unusual disadvantage to place our teachers in this potential situation. And of course, imprisonment for practicing without a license. What are the implications? The punishments are extreme, especially when there is no tiered approach to distinguish between a minor infraction or serious misconduct, or even whether this was professional misconduct or otherwise. Our recommendations on these matters include: establish a legal defense fund or provide guaranteed state-sponsored legal aid for teachers under investigation. 2, to guarantee the right to face and respond to one's accuser with full disclosure of the allegations, the very basis of natural justice. 3. Protect teachers from double jeopardy. No further sanction by the JTC if that individual has been cleared in other lawful or legal processes. 4. To guarantee salary continuation during appeals unless the teacher is convicted or formally found guilty. And 5. To introduce a preliminary screening process to filter out groundless complaints or complaints of a vexatious manner. Finally, establish a proportional penalty system with clear guidelines, options for rehabilitations, and safeguards for fairness. Thank you.
Look at the detail at which Mr. Raymond Price. There's clear flaws in this thing. Yeah, it's a mess with Bert. There's clear flaws. Yeah, that's a lot, you know. Everybody have a genuine, logical concern about this. And I love the way how they did it. Because some of these people, we need to know that is a part of the organization. So put them up front. Mark Golin, very good strategy. And they're all teachers in some capacity or have some connection to it. I believe the lady says she's a businesswoman, right? And she shared her concern. So let's hear what this apple of the eye looking lady has to say. Let's go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rochelle Essential. I'm an experienced educator with 28 years of experience and also an experienced middle manager. I'll be highlighting today the risks to school management and operational flexibility under the JTC bill. While much of the attention has been focused on individual teachers, we must also address the threat of this bill to pose to school leadership, particularly principals and vice principals, who are responsible for keeping schools functioning daily. The JTC bill, as written, will strip school leadership of key tools they've long used to manage classes, deal with emergencies, and ensure learning continues when the unexpected happens. Firstly, reduced flexibility in assigning substitute teachers. Section 4, subsection 1, as well as section 36, highlights only registered and licensed teachers may legally teach. There are no temporary exemptions or emergency allowances in this bill. And of course, there are implications. A principal cannot ask a retired educator, a trained graduate awaiting paperwork, or a volunteer to step in during an emergency, not even for a single day. Student learning is paused, not because there's no one to teach, but because the law forbids principal to stop-gap solution. Secondly, difficulty filling vacancies in high-need areas. Section 36, subsection 1, and section 34 states, before a teacher can be placed in a school, they must go through registration and licensing, which takes time. There's no mechanism for conditional hiring in areas like STEM, special education, or rural communities. And the implication, of course, even when a principal finds a suitable candidate, students wait weeks or months for licensing clearance. There is also the issue of no timely notification about investigations. Sections 50 to 53. Any person can file a complaint. There is no obligation to notify the principal when an investigation begins, nor to provide progress on updates. Implications. Teachers under investigation may be absent, distracted, or pulled from duties without principals knowing why. Of course, disruption occurs when no chance to plan ahead. School leadership excluded from disciplinary decisions. Section 51 to 60. Suspensions, license conditions, and revocations are handled by the council alone. Principals are not guaranteed consultation or input before decisions are made. And the implication is that key staff can disappear without warning, leaving school unprepared. Overly easy complaint process underestimates school authority. And this is highlighted in section 50, subsection 1. Any individual, including students, parents, or third parties, can trigger an investigation. No verification or filtering is required before actions begin. And the implications? Principals lose control over internal conflict resolution. Even petty disputes lead to formal disruptions of staff duties. There's also the issue of subject-specific licensing reduces in-school flexibility. Section 30, subsections 1C, highlights the council may issue a license with subject-specific restrictions. That means a teacher may be licensed only to teach math, or only English, or only grade level science. And the implications? Principals cannot reassign teachers across subjects in a pinch. Multi-subject flexibility, especially critical in small or rural school, is legally blocked. In addition, a teacher competent to assist in another subject may not be allowed to, even when students are left without instruction. We, the PNP, recommend 1. Permit school leadership to assign temporary substitutes, including licensed graduates or retired teachers, for short-term emergencies. 2. Create a fast-track approval system for schools facing urgent or persistent shortages. Notify principals immediately when a staff member is under investigation with regular updates. We require JTC to consult school leaders before disciplinary actions take effect. 5. Screen all complaints for validity before triggering disruptions in schools. And 6. Allow broader licensing categories so teachers can be deployed across multiple subjects or grades, especially in multi-role schools. The JTC bill, in its current form, undermines the ability of principals to lead, to respond to challenges, and to deliver consistent instruction. We must protect student learning, and that starts with empowering principals, not tying their hands.
Well said. Who else said, my lady? So, why this, it doesn't really surprise me. This Jamaica Labour Party government over the years has really done a lot. And not just Andrew, but Jamaica Labour Party, period. The story keep banging. The wind is blowing hard. Sorry about that. They do a lot to undermine our education system. And it's unfortunate, but, it's just the truth. It's just the truth.
The candidate for member.
It's your name, the media house you represent.
I believe we're at the stage of Q&A, and my God, the way how Damian Crawford dealt with this was superb. Please pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Pay close attention, all right?
Spoke with us before. Have a question, please state your name, the media house you represent, and if you're online, do the same. Indicate by using the raised hand icon. We'll unmute for you and you pose your question. Alternatively, you could write your question and we could present it to the speaker for you.
Good afternoon, Kelisha Williams, Television Jamaica. My question is in regards to just a response from the government saying that the members who were a part of the committee did not represent well and only attended a few meetings. That's coming from Kathan Gale in terms of the Joint Select Committee, the meeting. If this is true, can you say why the members only attended a few meetings and whether some of these same concerns were raised at that time? Thank you.
I won't even dignify that with a response, because for one, there is a report on the attendance of all the members that were there, and that approach you can review that attendance review. However, even if Senator Gale was correct, they're suggesting that the PMP is the only competent individuals that exist because their presence did not correct these maladies. So if it is that the PMP members was quote unquote absent, for which we know JLP members that went to 5 out of 45 meetings, right? So if it is that our absence led to this negative, then it is right that the people consider that we should be the government, because we will make the decisions that are likely to benefit the people. And additionally, there is no justice in his suggestion because the teachers were not absent. This is not a bill, PMP bill. This is a JTC bill. And so therefore what we're proposing are reasonable to be considered because there's risk attached to the teachers who were not invited to be members. They were present in their periods of invite and they made many of these recommendations that were ignored. So an excuse such as that is not one that is sufficient for us to delay the conversation on. So he should speak to the capacity of his persons who were present to not have seen the things that our entire team immediately saw.
Embarrassing!
We need some milk!
I'm here Stuart from Nationwide.
So he should speak to the capacity who were present to not have seen the things that our entire team immediately saw.
Morning, Senator Crawford. Mahiri Stewart from Nationwide News here. Adding on to what you just said a while ago, are there any groups out there that you think, well, okay, let me rephrase the question. Are there any groups that weren't consulted for this bill that you think if they were, would have led to there not being some of the inconsistencies you've identified?
I think that consulted and considered is two different things. The government seek to believe that if they spoke to you, even without acknowledging your statements, that is consultation. The Jamaica Teachers Association have made many recommendations that were not considered, but it can't be stated that they weren't consulted because they spoke to the person. So if I come to you and ask you, what would you want for dinner? Yet anything you say is not considered, then that is not legitimate to say you were considered, even though you were consulted. So I believe that if the Teachers Association had greater consideration, if the Principals Association had greater consideration, if we were not in a mad haste to say the government is performing before elections. Because, I mean, why is it that this must come true now? What is the reason why we can't review? Because there's precedent. When they made the stupid transportation bill that was asking for a child seat in a taxi, when the public saw the fallacy of that, which we highlighted in the Senate as well, they then made amendments. So there's precedent that now that we have shown them the folly of their ways, that there's reasonable risk to teachers, that there's reasonable probability that it may have unintended consequences. We believe that at this time they should reopen the conversation, and more persons are consuming the bill. Unfortunately, many did not read it before now. Unfortunately, many did not participate before now. But the intent of the bill is for national progress, not for a completion record for the government to say we have done 10 things in the midst of an election.
Good afternoon, Sashana Small from the Gleaner. Well, you kind of went ahead of my question just now in terms of, do you think that the government, we've been talking about this bill for over 2 decades,
yes,
right? Do you think that we were just trying to push it through with haste at this
Yes.
point? And also, just to clarify something that you said earlier, because I've been listening to the conversation about the bill, and the proponents are saying that this bill, it is supposed to push our country forward.
Yes.
We're supposed to have more accountability in the sector, and also it does in fact reflect the realities of our education system. What is your response to that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of the question.
Do you think the bill reflects the realities of our education system as it stands?
No, definitely not. I believe that the desire to play a game that many children used to enjoy, called Who Stole the Cookie from the Cookie Jar, and that game was a game to pass blame to anybody that was left in the game. So the government having failed so dramatically to the point that 13,000 of our children have not been competent in mathematics. So that continuously
Embarrassing!
2% is not passing the necessary. That 13,000 of our children have not been competent in mathematics. So that continuously only 18%, which suggests 82%, is not passing the necessary 5 subjects, including math and English, is seeking to sell a narrative to the uninformed that it is not systematic problems within the education system, but a teacher problem that can be immediately corrected. And that is not true. If it was a teacher problem of competence, then why is Dubai here recruiting our teachers? Why is Canada here, UK here recruiting our teachers? It is a reality of resources being lacking. Any individual can go to a rural school and recognize that we still have is Canada here teacher problem of competence, then why is Dubai here recruiting our teachers? Why is Canada here, UK here recruiting our teachers? It is a reality of resources being lacking. Any individual can go to a rural school and recognize that we still have chalkboards dividing classrooms. Any individual can do that. Any individual can ask a 11th grader if they have received their math books from government on rental. Any individual can recognize that there is no reasonable nutritional profile that is set for what a school lunch should include, even if the government is funding it. The government's contribution to the PATH program lunch is $180 per day. $180. That cannot provide nutrition. There is no commensurate activity to make sure parents are involved, to ensure that fathers in particular remain participatory, that women have the opportunity to fund the cost of education for their children. The government continue to sell the untruthful narrative that you don't have to pay school fees. And the schools that perform the best have parents who are willing to pay school fees. Have the government therefore contributed that cost to the schools? The school's contribution is $17,000 per child for 190 days. If you should do that mathematics, that ends up to about what? 17,000 divided by 100, that is going to be less than $100. Less than $100. 17,000 divided by 10 is 1,700. Divided by 10 is 170. Divided by 2, that is about $85. So it's about $89 per day. How can $89 per day effectively teach a child? There has been no increase since 2016 to that budget. There's a transformation plan that is on board that was put forward by the government to be the answer. It hasn't been tabled in Parliament and it hasn't been funded. They don't want us to recognize that the World Bank suggested that education loss needed $4 billion and they corrected it with $1 billion. They are now trying to blame the teachers for the 11-year-old we see at the stoplight wiping glass on a Monday at 10 a.m. All of those realities are being ignored, and this bill don't correct those realities. That we don't have proper transportation, that if rain is falling, a rural person will not go to school because there's no bus stop. All of those realities are trying to be hidden in this election season by forcing forward, oh, we're fixing education through the JTC bill. We believe that the bill can contribute to a pillar, but there are many other pillars still being ignored, and that is what we want to correct. So we believe it is a haste, in the same way we see with the roads, to suggest activity at this particular point in time.
Yeah. Second question. In light of the...
Not 89. I can teach maths.
Yeah. Next question. In light of the issues that have been raised by everyone standing here so far, would it be safe to say that the PNP is labeling this bill, at least in its current state, as a failure?
No, the PNP is guaranteeing that we will make these changes when we get power. And so what we're seeking to inform our teachers is never forget which party started by teachers. Never forget which party has been committed to education. Never forget which party has moved tertiary access from 6% to 22%. Never forget which parties did free education at all levels. And never forget that these are the things we're putting forward. So what we are saying is we will make these corrections if we should get power. And we're suggesting to our government, if they have any interest in the teachers, that they make those corrections now. Don't delay us to have to do what we have highlighted for them to do at this point in time. So we're not speaking to the bill, we're speaking to the outcomes, and the outcomes are risky to our teachers.
There is a question here online. Is the PNP aware of any updates on the unrest among teachers due to delayed salaries? And would the PNP support protest actions by the teachers if the act is not repealed?
We're not aware of any further information. We know that the government made a commitment to the representatives of the teachers through the JTA, and we beg the teachers not to be ignited to splinter group representation through the JTA. The power of the teachers in our society has been maintained by their willingness to act together. And there are some within the society seeking to splinter that by telling teachers to step away from the JTA that acts as their representative. Would we support protest action? It depends. We won't support disruption of our society. We know that our children are facing CXC now, and we hope that our teachers may delay, but we understand the teachers' desire for their reasonable remuneration, and they can't carry what they are calling a Benz bill and paying teachers with the pro box salary. So we understand.
Big up Damian Crawford. Big up Damian Crawford. Listen me, man. What me say? As a teacher himself, remember, Ben's bill, with pro box salary. Mighty God. And them are trying to divide the teacher. Them teachers on the stay together. Unity is strength. Don't allow the government to separate, Yeah? Don't allow them to do it.
That reality that our teachers are facing. However, because it's paying teachers with the pro box salary. So we understand that reality that our teachers are facing. However, because it's exam time, we would prefer if our teachers bite this bullet and support the students at this particular point in time. But if they feel that they can't bear it anymore, it is for them to decide how they would act.
You have another question on the floor?
And from Television Jamaica. Just last week I did a story in regards to some schools which are losing students, especially boys. And oftentimes you see them being recruited by gangs. And I also understand in other parishes too, a lot of students are missing from the system, especially boys. They're not returning to school and they end up falling, victim to some of these crimes. What is the opposition's position on this in terms of should you form the next government? How do you ensure that these students stay in school and you're able to track them down?
We have a fulsome plan. I don't know if you will make news time if we should give the fulsome plan, but let us just give some tenets of that. For one,
That is funny, honey.
How do you ensure that these students stay in school and you're able to track them down?
We have a fulsome plan. I don't know if you will make news time if we should give the fulsome plan, but let us just give some tenets of that. For one, many of our children are finding it difficult through transportation costs and transportation systems. I mentioned my own constituency of Ty Dixon, which is a rural community depending on farming. That reality that these persons are not transitioning from point A to point B cause for many taxis not to find it viable to apply that route. Therefore, the children who have to move from point A to point B, though the adults just go to them farm and go to them land, is having difficulty sometimes having to go through St. Anne to get back to St. Catherine for Charlemont High School. So what we have proposed in the budget through Mark Golding, Julian Robinson and others is that we would give $2,500 per week to needy students who are having difficulty getting to school based on the cost of transportation in these rural spaces. Secondly, we have indicated that all needy students, for which we have budgeted 56% of Jamaican students are in need, will receive a lunch at the value of $400. The government's current cost is $180. And even when the Minister of Finance did her mathematics, she was 1 billion short in her own mathematics. So therefore, the students would find that to be a problem moving forward. So we have said that the 56% will receive a meal of $400 for each day for the 190 days. One of the reasons why our boys are being taken out is because they are the ones who are going to be asked to work, because physical labor is more easy to get for boys because they are more physically disposed, more physically able, and so they are being asked. We're also going to be targeting absenteeism. The Prime Minister, unfortunately, himself misunderstands absenteeism and calls it truancy. Truancy is when the child was sent to school and chose not to go. Absenteeism is when the entire collective, the parent, decided not to send him. There is a major problem with absenteeism for which we would ensure that we target. So we have a full something about student motivation. We have a full something about access to your books. And understand this, the cumulative nature of education, which suggests, for example, if I would be allowed to teach under this bill continuously, I would teach factorization on Tuesday so as to teach quadratic equation on Thursday. Quadratic equation is dependent on the understanding of factorization. The student absent on Tuesday become annoyed and perceive incompetence on Thursday because he has no prior information about the Tuesday lesson. So even though the absenteeism is 22%, the cumulative impact will make it seem as if it is 6% because the person haven't, and so therefore that depression with that system has caused for many of our students to remain absent. We have been teaching. We have over 100 years of teaching, right here, and that experience is what we would use to make 20 years, and I'm gone 27, 31. Yeah, I've been teaching since a while. 19, I'm gone 25. Enough, I'm gone, but it's many years here, and many levels of teaching, and that is why we are able to understand the nuances of the profession, understand the realities of the children, understand the vagaries facing the parents. And this is how we are going to do. This bill discourages some of our plans. This bill discourages our ability to extend the school day by having persons facilitate homework classes, so that this boy don't go home at 2 o'clock without an adult until 7. This bill negates my ability to do that. This bill negates my ability to introduce into the schools persons for social development through Cadet Corps and Girls Guide who are not professional teachers. That's why we're so concerned, because we're confident of victory, and we want to be able to do quickly the things that are necessary to do.
Confident
Thank
of
you very much,
victory.
Senator
Time
Crawford. We
come.
want to say thank you to all of our
Make
educators.
them know, Damian, make them know people. Tell me anything about that in the comment section. Oh, that's not bad. That's an hour. I did that in an hour. That's good. That's good. Hour and 6 minutes. That's not bad. So yeah, let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section.